Hello and welcome back to another day in the arena. Today we are playing with the Arclight Phoenix Electromancer deck. So, I've got some things here. We're going to talk about what's in the deck, and then in the sideboard, I've picked 15 cards, not that I would actually sideboard for the deck, but that I think are worth talking about why they are not in the current version of the deck. So, a question I often get is basically, why not insert card name? Question mark. And every time there is an answer, and it's different for every card name, so it's very difficult to answer all the questions efficiently, but I'm going to at least answer that question for you for 15 cards. We've already played an Arclight Phoenix deck on the channel. That I considered like a combo, sort of turbo, go as fast as possible version. This one I would say is much more flexible, and that's going to be really important when we talk about the sideboard and the cards that we're not playing. All right, so think flexible thoughts. Think of yoga, I suppose. All right, we are opening up with Shock and Opt. We really want our 1-mana spells to help us bring back our Arclight Phoenix when it goes to the graveyard, since returning it to the battlefield requires 3 spells. Cheap spells are important, but we don't run as many cheap spells as the other version. Why? Because we have 4 copies of Goblin Electromancer. It reduces the cost of instant sorcery spells by 1 mana, and that lets us play a bunch of 2-mana spells for 1 mana, and sometimes our 4-mana spells for 3 mana. Can I move you over here? I've done it before. There we go. So, thanks to Electromancer, you can say on turn 2, play an Electromancer, then play a Chart of Course, a Radical Idea, and a jump-started Radical Idea, and a Lava Coil, or also insert a Discovery anywhere in there. And that's enough to bring back your Phoenix on turn 3. So, that's a lot of what we're trying to set up. Also, thanks to Electromancer, you can often pay 3 for your Chemister's Insight, making it an okay keep for this particular deck, which often needs more gas. Over here are our threats. Arclight Phoenix, you actually end up paying 0 for rather often. And then we have Crackling Drake, which we do have to straight up cast. A Beacon Bolt in the deck also lets it remove many things, and our Crackling Drakes get enormous. So when I said to think flexible thoughts, don't think that you have to kill the opponent very quickly. It's actually perfectly acceptable to play a lot of defense because Arclight Phoenix is not required to attack. It can block, and then you play spells on your next turn and get it back anyway, which is something you'd probably be doing seeing your deck is totally spells. That's just good value that you get to block, kill something of theirs, or chump block, and then get your Phoenix back for free. Then eventually you have giant drakes, and if they get to attack, the game ends. I run 22 lands in this version because we want to make sure that we are never too short on our land drops. More land is never that bad of a thing because of Opt, Chart of Course, Radical Idea, Chemister's Insight. We can just keep drawing and drawing through our deck without flooding. Now, I'm going to jump over the sideboard. These are cards that are not in this deck. Sometimes I'm going to say I think you should try a copy, and sometimes I'm going to explain why it's not in the deck. So Dive Down. This is a card that's worked its way into some of these decks. I would actually really enjoy putting 1 copy of Dive Down in my deck. It's a good surprise when people try to kill your Electromancer or your Drakes. So I don't mind a Dive Down. I actually think that if you can fit one of those into the deck by taking out a card you don't like as much, that's a good idea. Crash Through and maximize. Actually, these all go together. Crash Through, Maximize Velocity, Warlord's Fury. These are all part of the other deck that tries to win very quickly and doesn't use Goblin Electromancer. Because we have Electromancer, we can play more expensive but more flexible spells and get rid of the ones that have a lower impact, and these all count for that. I still want a Maximize Velocity in the list. I would love to be able to have the ability to have at least 1 Maximize Velocity to go with the Drake. So if you want to add one of those, I wouldn't stop you for 1 minute. It's one of those fun-ofs that I think is totally worth it. Disdainful Stroke, this is a sideboard card along with Negate. Stopping our opponent's big spells isn't really what we're going for, and I can throw Ionize into this group as well. We really do need to spend most of our turns drawing a bunch of cards and hoping that our engine with giant drakes and with Phoenix that comes back every turn is better than our opponent's more expensive spells. So that's why we don't put these in the main deck at this time. Lightning Strike has been replaced by Lava Coil in the deck because Lava Coil can remove other flying things that get in our way, such as Arclight Phoenix or Crackling Drake from the opponent, much more efficiently than Lightning Strike. Lightning Strike was in the other deck because it was a good racing deck, and Lightning Strike is a racing card. This deck does not need to race. It's a plan, but it's not the only plan, making Lava Coil a better choice for removing things in the air that get in the way with 4 toughness. All right, Tormenting Voice. I play this in the other version because it's actually more difficult to get your Phoenix into the graveyard. In this one, you have all the jumpstart cards. So Chemister's Insight and 4 Radical Ideas can do the job. Discovery Dispersal sort of does the job. But that's why we don't need Tormenting Voice in this deck. If you wanted to slot 1 in to balance out the mana costs in the deck so that your red and your blue were more even, I wouldn't blame you, because one of the risks is that you have all the spells you need to cast to get back your Phoenix, but your mana is wrong by 1 or 2. Next, Fiery Cannonade. This is a one of I wouldn't blame you for playing. Against History of Benalia decks, you need it very badly. Enigma Drake. This deck usually doesn't need Enigma Drake to win the game, but I wouldn't be mad if you found room for 1 or 2 into the deck. I'm not going to tell you exactly what to cut. I'm going to say cut the cards you don't like or don't think you need or think are wrong for the meta, and then you can play these. This is just my way of talking about some things have good reasons that they're not in, and some things I think might be good, but we don't have the room. I don't like Rekindling Phoenix in the deck because it maxes out at 4 power. The Drake's ability, either Enigma or Crackling Drake, is just a lot more damage and a lot more just inevitability that you can eventually win through the air. Rekindling Phoenix takes a much slower road, and when it's gone, it is gone, whereas often you might get an Arclight Phoenix back many times in a game. Ral, I don't think we have room for a 5-drop Planeswalker that takes a control angle. While Ral is a little bit flexible, he is locked into the control angle, and he's also not a spell. We can't recast our Arclight Phoenix by playing a Ral. So I'm not into Ral. Niv-Mizzet, on the other hand, is definitely a card if you want to make room for. I would put 1 in the main deck. Maybe even 2. You can always discard him to jumpstart cards if you don't need him, and because of all the jumpstart cards, if you untap with this card, you know you have a lot of gas, and the game pretty much ends. So I would fit a Niv-Mizzet into the main deck. I think that would be pretty fun. And then there's Banefire. I wouldn't hate you for playing 1 copy of Banefire, but I would not play more than 1. This deck does hit its land drops very well because of all the card draw, so you do end up with a lot of lands. However, when you think about Banefire, think about what if you had an Enigma Drake instead? Would it do more damage than the Banefire? Many times it would with this deck. So I won't hate you for playing Banefire, but I won't really agree with it either. Okay. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this approach to the deck tech. Please leave me comments if you like me going over the cards more, or if you hate it and want me to get into the games. Either way, please let me know. I'll see you in the games. Well, our first hand here, this is a mystery box. We don't really know what this hand is. I think that one of the strengths of the deck is you can keep a hand like this. But if we never find Phoenix or Drake, it's going to be a very sad hand. Still, let's take it out for a spin. I'm going to pay life, which is pretty weird, but I do want to start I want to start opting right away. So that's why we're going to pay life for the Steam Vent. I want to start digging through my deck right away because it might be a while before we find the cards we need with a hand like this. Never mind. One of the cards we need is right on top. Next up, you'll see my discovery trick as we try to dig and just make sure that we don't draw land for a while. Chemister's Insight and Opt. We can put the Insight in the graveyard to jumpstart later, and we can draw the Opt to make sure we have more spells, which I'm totally fine with. It didn't get us to an Arclight Phoenix, which would have been ideal. Seeker's Squire. Alright, and a Golgari Findbroker. So we can Opt and Lava Coil. The thing about the Lava Coil is it does take the pressure off, but Crackling Drake can block this card very easily, so I'm not worried about taking too much damage from it. I think the best plays for this turn are Opt and Radical Idea. I could opt into Electromancer, so I may as well do it right now and see if we find anything. Oh, but I will take that. Excellent. Now, I could chart, of course, to put this in the graveyard, but I don't have the cards to bring it back right away, and next turn I'm going to play the Crackling Drake anyway. So instead, my plan is to Radical Idea. We'll represent mana for a little while, but the main plan here is to take a Radical Idea. And then we'll play a Crackling Drake, see if it gets Chupacabra'd. Alright, our opponent's got a lot of good stuff, no doubt about it. We're going to be under pressure, so we do really need to dodge Chupacabra here. Alright, we'd still have to draw one drop if we actually wanted to get our Arclight Phoenix back this turn. So, yeah, I'm going to go for the Drake and make them have an answer to it. Next turn, if we have a land, we'll most certainly get it back. Well, we did have an Opt, so we'll be able to bring a Phoenix back next turn. Vivian Reed is a brutal one.
I've lost so much already. What that can't help you now.
Yep, pretty excellent draw by the opponent, with a Fine Broker included to get Vivian back. So, how are we going to take this road? We do have to get rid of the Vivian. A shock on it seems perfectly fine, but we also could shock the Branchwalker and attack the Vivian. I guess that's clearer if the opponent has a way to kill the Phoenix. So one thing that we have to do for certain is we have to discard the Phoenix. We have to start with that. So the best way to do that here will be a chart, of course. Since I'm going to play my land anyway, I'll play the island and play it off there to keep the mana flexibility good. Hang with me. The deck is a little complicated to pilot. All right, let's go ahead and throw a Lava Coil at the Seeker Squire. And let's throw a Shock at the Merfolk Branchwalker. Let's reduce the opponent's board where we can, get back our Arclight Phoenix, and let's attack down Vivian Reed. Our opponent can play Fine Broker and get back Vivian Reed, but that takes up a lot of their mana for the next 2 turns, and bringing back an Arclight Phoenix isn't hard. Land off the top. We can Lava Coil away the Fine Broker, which sounds perfectly fine. I'm going to start with Discovery Dispersal and see if we can find another Phoenix to put into the graveyard. Instead, we have Shock and we have Electromancer. Shock can kill the elves, and Electromancer can really fuel our draw. So I'll take the Electromancer. We can play this. We can play our island. We can have a Radical Idea to get the Shock, but we can save that. We don't have to do that right now. But we can Lava Coil away the Find Broker, so we don't have to deal with that anymore. And we can attack with the Phoenix. Holding up Radical Idea, which we can use in response if the Electromancer is about to die. But we want to make sure that we may not even cast it. We'll see. We want to make sure that we have enough spells to bring back the Phoenix. It does seem very likely that we can bring it back with as many spells as we have. The opponent's going to hang on to Vivian Reed, probably saving it for a Crackling Drake. And with a Moment of Craving on top for the Electromancer, they probably feel pretty good about that. All the Explorer creatures. So, let's see if our opponent has nothing to attack with. Never mind. Let's cast the Radical Idea off the cost reduction and get a little deeper, since we don't have a Phoenix to worry about bringing back right now. Well, Phoenix won't be attacking. We would love to have it block some of this nonsense. The opponent may play the Vivian to kill it, but if they take Vivian down, it's very easy to kill Vivian on the backswing. Let's start with a Chemister's Insight and review our options for the turn. I'm fine with paying it off, leaving blue untapped, because most of my effects right now are blue, And I'll discard the land because I feel like I have plenty. Okay. Another Chemister's Insight. Also a Chart of Course. I think we can... We might want to save Chart of Course right now until after we attack with our Phoenix, which I don't plan to do this turn. But I might next turn to kill Vivien. So I think from here it's a time to pass the turn. I can, if the opponent does nothing I want to respond to, I can Chemister's Insight. Let's see how they want to do this. Okay. I will block. Here comes a Moment of Craving on Electromancer. If I take 3 damage, I can cast a reduced cost Chemister's Insight, and it be up 2 cards for next turn. But I think it's better to preserve the life total for the moment. We can also use our radical ideas. Actually, I think... Well, the Opt will still be cheap next turn, and we do need to get the Phoenix back. We could discard the Jumpstart Insight, but I think card, like, count is going to get important, so I'm going to let this die without doing any other effects. Is a tricky deck to play. You have my apologies if the pace of play is not as fast as you may want, but I think it's important to try to get it right. Alright, there's the trade. We'll go to my turn. Our opponent leaving mana open. I'm going to start the party with a Chemister's Insight. There is an Enigma Drake, but remember our opponent is holding Vivien Reid. Next, I'll Opt. It would be great to find one more Arclight Phoenix here, but it doesn't look like that's meant to be. So I'll play the land. I'll play the Chart of Course. We're probably discarding a Steam Vents. Yep. Here comes 1 Phoenix. We're halfway through the deck. So the other 3 Phoenix must be here somewhere. And there's an Assassin's Trophy, which actually will go get me a land. I'm not disappointed with this one bit. So the opponent being very defensive in that situation, but getting the Phoenix back isn't too tricky. Here's Vivien.
Let's see if your word. Let's tear this place apart.
Vivien's a decent card, but Vivien has some problems when it comes to the Arclight Phoenix. 9 cards, 9 lands, lots of options. It would be great if I could play the Crackling Drake and the Phoenix this turn, but to do that, I do have to draw something I can play for 1 mana. So I'm going to start with Chart of Course. No, actually I'm going to start with Discovery Dispersal since it gets deeper into the deck to possibly find more Phoenix or a 1-drop. 2 lands. Glad to see those gone. And an Electromancer. We could put off the Crackling Drake. I still would really love to resolve it this turn. If I play the Electromancer, though, that's not going to happen. I could still hit a 1-drop off this Chart of Course and have the turn I would love to have. So let's see what happens. And we missed. Too bad. But we'll discard the Phoenix. Now, we can play the Electromancer. And we can flashback Chemister's Insight for our last spell to make sure that the Drakes come back. Or not the Drakes, the Phenai. As I say it, I know I'm wrong. Sorry for the tilts. Alright, now you two need to go take Vivien Reid to the ground.
I'm not losing. Ooh. You'll have to do better than that.
Bye-bye, Katniss. I'm ready. Carnage Tyrant is coming. But the Crackling Drakes might be able to handle it. Unfortunately, Beacon Bolt cannot. Now, there is a card, Find Finality, that could definitely ruin the party against Carnage Tyrant. So, because of that, I think I can only play one Crackling Drake. I don't want to get blown out by the finality. Plus, I can Beacon Bolt the Llanowar Elf to reduce my opponent's ability, potentially, to use the finality to kill me. That said, if they don't have that card, exactly, but they do have a way to kill my Drake, do I lose? I can deal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's pretty rough. I think actually I just attack from the two-pronged approach where I play second Crackling Drake, and the Beacon Bolt, thanks to the discount from the Electromancer, on the Llanowar Elf. So I make them, if they have Find Finality, they have to draw an extra land for this to work. And if they don't draw an untapped land here, they might have Finality but be unable to cast it. And if they have a Chupacabra or a Vivian Reed, a way to kill one Drake, that will not be good enough. Moment of Craving on the Electromancer. And Concession. All right. I thought that was a pretty good game that showed just how many lines a deck like this can offer. This hand has an Electromancer and a Drake, a Radical Idea, and Opt. 3 lands, all of them producing both colors. No reason not to keep it. It doesn't have a removal spell. That's, I guess, the concern. But, of course, these mystery bags, you never know what these are. It might be all the removal spells you need. Yeah. Trying to decide whether or not to pay 2 life here is always interesting, but I will. I don't want to fall too far behind. Double blue, probably leading right to a discovery, sure. Perhaps some red mana trouble, perhaps not. Okay, they kept both cards on top. I don't need another Steam Vents, thank you. A discovery of my own. So most people might think I'm supposed to play Electromancer here, and my opponents only play blue cards. So it's very tempting to do, but if they are blue-red, they can shock the Electromancer. If they are blue-black, they can kill it. I really want to make sure I get some mana advantage off the card before it dies. So I'm going to save it till my next turn when I can play it and play a discovery in the same turn. Our opponent main phasing a Radical Idea. And there's the red mana. See if they have... Alright. Maybe they don't have shock. Let's go find out. Here's my discovery. Here's what I discovered. Ooh, Phoenix. You can go to the graveyard. Discovery into hand, as it may find more Phoenix. And the Goblin Electromancer lives, my friends. Crackling Drake. Alright, my opponent has a creature. So now the question is who can get to Lava Coil? And I think I'll just do my best to find one. I'll take the Opt. Shock might work here. Bring it back. I'll play the Radical Idea. Bring back the Phoenix. And discard a Steam Vents because we definitely don't need it. Move to combat, and I'll attack with the Phoenix. If the opponent doesn't block, I'll chart a course. If they do block, I will shock. They do block. Alright, deal the damage. Shock down the Drake. Getting the Drakes off the field has to be a pretty high priority. You can't really remove Arclight very well. Unfortunately, that's the way it is, but We can get rid of the Crackling Drakes, and they are pretty key. Well, our opponent simply has another, making it look so easy. All right, well, on my end, let's fire a Radical Idea and see if we can solve the problem yet again. Not yet. I'm gonna discard a Mountain and fire Radical Idea again. I'm trying to save the Chart Courses to post-combat to stock more resources. It may not be the most important thing in this matchup, but it's a thing. Another Phoenix, okay. And we'll discard you. I'll play the island, and I will discover and try to get a little bit deeper. We might find Phoenix, or we might find the Lava Coils. There's the shock. Excellent. And I think I want it just like this, too. Here come my Arclights. My lovelies. We also have another Goblin Electromancer, so I'm going to attack with all. Nothing sells the shock more, plus the opponent takes more damage. Now they're at 14. I want to get the resources spent. Spent on the Phoenix. Then the Drakes might be able to take over. Still no Arclights in their graveyard. That's got to be the priority right now. And they discard one Arclight to a Radical Idea. That will get them one Arclight back. And they are choosing to block this time. All right. I think rather than trying to dig up more Arclights or kill this one, I'm going to attack with my creatures. And then I'll play Electromancer and Chart a Course twice. Or I can play a Crackling Drake. Actually, I can play Crackling Drake and Electromancer and have Chart a Course available for next turn, but first let's see what we draw off this Drake. Another Drake. Glorious. Yeah, I'll play the Electromancer. I don't think it's likely to die in this turn sequence if the opponent didn't kill the Phoenix and has a Crackling Drake to worry about. So now I'll have reduced cost Chart a Courses on a turn when I can get a Phoenix back. Well, our opponent's going for getting back. Well, they now have two. What a fun little attrition battle this is turning into. Did our opponent find removal? They have the Beacon Bolt. It taps them out, but now they have some Arclights in their life. Let's see if they want to use them to attack. Do they realize I still have an Arclight? Anyway, let's start the party. There's a Beacon Bolt, another Arclight. Party some more. Okay, Steam Vents can go. Shock your Arclight Phoenix. And we get back two Arclight Phoenix there, and we attack with everything. That is 11, so that will be lethal. That is why the opponent scooped him up. The reward, House Guildmage. Well, Thank you very much for watching this video. I've certainly enjoyed the games. I hope that you enjoyed them too. Thank you to Lucky Fluke, who is a subscriber to the channel and provided this deck via Discord. If you would like to see your deck played on the channel, you can join Patreon with the link below, or you can subscribe on Twitch, which is also a link below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.